Well, time is 34 minutes past 4 p.m. on a Wednesday, 15 September 2021. Now, you should really remember this day for a long, long time come because we're here welcoming to the most amazing platform. This is Amazon Internet Services presents to you Economic Times Global Digital League 2.0 powered by Kindred. A big thank you to our partners once again for supporting us in all the possible way, and that is going to be our presenting partner, Amazon Internet Services, along with co-powered by partner Kindred, innovative partner Dell Technologies, platinum partner NetApp and Reddington, gold partners Commvault, Juniper Networks, exclusive networks, Fiserv, Checkpoint Software Technologies, associate partners Poly, Datamatics and Jabra, supporting associations, Community Partners, Participants Associations of India, CPAI, along with Cyber Society of India, and last but not the least, National Accreditation Board for Hospitals, that is NABH. Now, if you're online on social media platforms and thinking how you connect to us and make sure you are leveraging this brand network of people to understand the innovation and more about digital, then all you have to do is hashtag ETGDL. That's ETGDL. And now let's get straight into our session right now, which is in conversation with for Global Capability Centers, India and the World, a transformative journey. And joining us now is President Global Services, Fiserv, Mr. Srini Krish, along with in conversation with Pari, Natarajan, CEO and co-founder of Zinnov right now, and this one is an exclusive one here at GBC.
Thank you, Mithun, for the introduction. We have an exciting topic today. We're going to talk about how global centers of excellence and capability centers have transformed during the pandemic. We're going to discuss about change in leadership style and different tools leaders have to drive the growth. Second, we're going to touch upon some of the key digital transformation initiatives which are led from India. Third, we'll talk about future of work, how future of work is changing, and also talk about how companies measure their centers of excellence and capability centers focused on more top-line growth rather than focused on cost. Srini, we will dive deep into the questions, and you've driven the company, led the company over the last 18 months during the COVID pandemic. Personally, how has your leadership style changed? What are the things you need to tune and forget some of your older leadership principles and learn new muscles to lead your organization forward?
Well, Pari, good to see you again. And thanks to the Economic Times for this opportunity to share some of my experiences and thought as I'm part of the Fiserv family here. Look, I mean, we live in a world that looks for instant gratification. We're used to the swipe right and the swipe left, if you will, right? The past year and a half has worn our patience really thin. That's something that everybody is aware of. And honestly, we're in perpetual uncertainty, right? We don't know what's going to come about next week. We don't know what's going to happen a month from now. The only way I think for us to move forward, most of these difficult times, you look for answers and paradoxes, as they say. It's about being impatient and patience at the same time, right? What I mean by that is you have to be impatient about things that are really important for you to continue to focus on and to move the organization forward. Yet you have to have, the thought to make sure that you're patient about certain things that are still very ambiguous where you live in, right? It's very important for us to perform, which is your day-to-day, responsibilities. At the same time, not lose sight of the fact that you have to transform the organization for the future. You have to make sure that you hold people accountable for things that they have to get done, yet be absolutely compassionate to the needs of people as the needs of people are continuing to evolve through these very difficult times. So I think, again, leaders are naturally impatient. They want to move fast. In my personal opinion here in the last year and a half, it's about knowing where to be impatient and where to be patient and make sure that this combination is working for you. And as I always say, never let perfection be the enemy of good, right? At some point, you have to have what's good enough to continue to move the organization forward. And the last thing I'd say on this is patience is always a two-way street, right? It's not just about the leadership, having to be patient. its patience is important for everybody because there's a lot of ambiguity. People need exactness about, when what needs to happen, yet nobody has all the answers at this point. So I think, knowing when to be patient, yet making sure that you continue to move the organization so you're not left behind is probably the biggest lesson I learned.
Interesting. The patience is a tool you've learned. What are the things you had to unlearn, Srini? You have a leadership toolkit. Other things you had to unlearn?
Look, I think one of the things that I think is what this has taught all of us is how to make connections while you're not physically in a room, right? So, most of us know that you go meet people in person, shake hands, go out for lunch or dinner, and that's how you make the connections. But I think what we have all learned is how to do that in a way, still be personal, yet you're on a video, or yet you're on a phone, or you're messaging somebody at late at night. But it's about the thoughtfulness. It's about the timing of when you're asking people about how they're doing, how's the family doing, and things like that, right? So I think in the past, when you're away, you tend to not make those human connections as much. But during these last year and a half, nobody could go anywhere. So the only way for you to make those human connections is to be thoughtful about the timing and just making sure that you're always in touch with people, making sure they're doing okay and things like that. So
connection, making virtual connections it's a new skill you had to learn. And also employees, leaders are so used to having a very clear roadmap, and then say, here is the North Star, we have to go. But the last 18 months, like you said, people are not clear. How do I move forward? And many leaders, including in large companies, are not clear when people will come back to work or things like that. So how are you okay with embracing uncertainty, and how do you communicate that to your team? And
it's a great question.
When they're looking for answers from you, right?
Yeah, no, look, Pari, that's a great question, right? I wouldn't say that we still have that perfected yet, but what's worked for us is being 100% transparent, being as frequently as in touch as you possibly can, whether it is through videos or whether it is through email messages or smaller group conversations to say, here's what we know, here's where we want to go if all things being equal, and here's what we don't know. Right. So I think being explicitly clear about what you know and what you don't know and where you want to go, given where we are, and don't be afraid to make changes. Right. That's the other thing. So I think it's about transparency. It's about frequency of communication. It's about touching as many people as you can. Like I said, I meet with a whole different groups of people almost on a daily basis. At least one group I meet with, whether it is new joiners or whether it is the mid-levels, leaders, or it is senior leaders. Doing more of that and getting more perspective and just being honest about what you don't know and being honest about where you want to go, I think gets you there.
Got it. And then one other question I had on leadership, and if you look at a leader of India GCC, the parent company, the headquarters kind of trusts that person to figure out what happens here. And also there is a whole bunch of travel happens. I'm pretty sure at Pfizer, you're hosting hundreds of people every year. So in the last 18 months, nobody can travel. And you have the second wave, which is happening, and it will be very tough on other companies. And what was the concerns from the headquarters, and what were the expectation from you, and how do you kind of tune to that expectation?
Yeah, well, thanks for asking that. Our CEO Frank Bisignano, going all the way back to early part of 2020. Reached out and he said, look, there is nothing more important than you having all the support you need to have to navigate what you need to navigate, right? And this is back in 2020 of March. Since then, him and I have been in touch almost on a daily basis, right? So I sent him a quick note, which is, probably 2 or 3 liners that says, how are things going? It became very apparent, earlier this year when we went through wave 2 in April, May, and June, where we, just like everybody else, we went through a lot of difficulty in being able to get associates, whether it is admissions to hospital or access to oxygen and things like that. The doors are wide open as far as whatever support we needed from the US, right? And again, this is not just the CEO of the organization, because the CEO sets the tone, right on down to every single person in the organization was ready and available to assist. I just had an opportunity to go visit US about a few weeks ago. And by the way, everybody in the US is back to work. So the senior management team is back at work, and I was able to go spend some time with them. Invariably, every single person, all they came around and said was, thank you for the leadership that the team exhibited in navigating a crisis that was really, really scary at some point. And the gratitude was just exemplary, right? So although, to your question about nobody has been able to travel back and forth, the communication channel between the highest, sort of person in the organization and the person who leads here has been wide open with regards to the difficulties we are facing, with regards to the achievements we have had, with regards to the obstacles we overcame. It's been disseminated across the organization. So pretty much every single senior leader of Fiserv is 100% aware of all the challenges that GCC here in India went through and was able to overcome, and yet be there for our clients and deliver for our clients, right? Which is, I think, is the most exciting part of all of this. Is we can talk about all the things that didn't go right as far as the infrastructure, as far as what we faced and obstacles we had. But the bottom line is we hardly even missed a single deliverable for our clients, right? That to me is the amazing journey that we've had for the last 18 months.
So it just proved the resilience of the India team, and also your direct line of communication with the CEO seemed like a very important aspect to build that trust and transparency between the organization. Even though there are formal ways of communication, the direct relationship really helped. So just switching on to future of work, you mentioned about your teams have already come back to work, and there is different the thought process that today some companies say we're going to be completely remote in a completely virtual world going forward. Certain companies are saying, hey, we will go back to what was normal before the pandemic. People will come back to work. Everybody will come back to work. And there is somebody will say we'll do a hybrid. So what's your thought process on what the right model? Like, I know, it's very difficult to say right now, but what's the current thinking and how do you get from where you are to that, whatever the state is?
Yeah, look, as I said before, I and the senior management team continue to communicate on a regular basis. So what I'm about to tell you is nothing new. All of our associates have heard me talk about this. We will do this in a very sort of thoughtful and a flexible way as we transition back to work, right? To us, employee safety and associate safety comes above all. So there is no hurry for us to having to get back to work unless we know 100% sure that our employee safety is going to be taken care of. So with that in mind, one of the most important things that we can't ignore is the local sort of restrictions that are continue to be in play, right? Whether it is in the corporation of Chennai that we operate in, or whether it's the city of Pune, they all have their local restrictions with regards to how many people can be at work and so forth. So we're going to respect that, right? And as far as you go beyond that, we still have a very large portion of our associate population that has migrated out of the core cities that we operate in. So one of the primary things we want to focus on is to be able to give them enough heads up and notice for them to start planning the way back. As we know, when you move out of a city, it's not easy to migrate back. You may have to think about the leases, you may have to think about the migration timeline, so on and so forth. So we're going to give people enough time to be able to come back. And then last but not the least, we're not going to go back to how we were in 2019 overnight, right? It's going to take us a gradual sort of transition back. We'll probably bring teams back as their job requires them to be back at work, whether it is design sessions, whether it is team building and things like that. And we're going to, our leaders are going to start doing this first. So it's going to be a thoughtful transition. It's going to be flexible. We're going to continue to make sure that the people have their balance between what they need to do at home versus what they need to do at work. Right.
Very interesting. And one other topic I want to touch upon is every CEO talks about digital transformation accelerated during the pandemic. And I'm pretty sure you've seen that in fintech as well. How has GCC's, especially Fiserv, contributed to the acceleration of some of the new technology in fintech?
Yeah, no, look, I mean, I think the digital acceleration was almost, a survival need for most of our businesses, or at least most of our clients. If you think about our clients, we serve small, medium, and large size banks in the US and outside of US. And we serve merchants all around the world of all different sizes and shapes, all the way from a very small mom and pop shop to a large conglomerate, right? If you think about a small mom and pop shop merchant, or if you think about a small Midwestern community bank, excuse me, they are not historically thought about a digital sort of presence, right? But during the pandemic, when everybody wanted a low touch option or no touch option, or wanted to be served where they were, as opposed to having to go to the physical location of where the service was, they had no option but have to do the digital transformation, right? So one of the things that, again, our any GCC and specifically ours here, I always call it as a microcosm of what the global Fiserv is. And I say that because Fiserv operates out of 100 plus countries, and we have several hundred products, and we operate, in different regions. We have representation of every product, every region, and every country here in India. So the opportunity for us to be able to take the subject matter experts and take the experts across all these different products and put them in a room to be able to create something new for Fiserv, let alone for the whole fintech in general, is unique. So we've been doing that. We've been running, sessions where, people of different walks and shapes and forms come together and start brainstorming about creating new products. You'll see that, as we're in the process of building, the alpha beta, it'll come out very soon. But the talent, right? We started early on. We have had an academy for digital training. So we've had full stack developers coming out of this academy, maybe not at the same vigor that we do now, but we've always had that. So when all of our clients wanted to start making the transition or the transformation into the digital world, we had people that were trained to be able to help them do that, right? So we continue to invest very heavily on our people getting trained and certified as full stack Java, .NET, or mobile developers, which again is an investment that we make on behalf of our associates in the longer term, given that in the future, we believe most, if not all of the work is going to be associated in some form or shape into digital.
Interesting, the cross-pollination of ideas across different business units and products, as well as your investment in deep tech training for your associates early on, that really helped you during the pandemic because you had the skills ready for some of them to drive transformation. And final question, with all of this happening, how are you starting to measure? We know that most companies set up the centers for optimizing purely for cost, and then companies started focusing on access to talent. Is there a new set of metrics being created of how GCCs are measured?
Yeah, so one of the things that we focus very heavily, we say, associates first, but we always say client at the center of everything we do, right? For most of our clients, again, you can generally classify client satisfaction as a metric that we look at. But most importantly, what they really care about is, the speed at which the implementation of their products happen, right? So it's a very important metric for us. And there are, a handful of products which are very, very important for us because we tend to have these products very widely available for a lot of our clients. And again, from the time that the clients, hire us to the time the product actually gets implemented is an important metric for some of these products. So one of the few things that we have been starting to do in the last year and a half is take some of these key products and measure them for the speed of implementation, if you will. And the way we do that is, as you would think, is process optimization, process automation, and making sure that we have subject matter experts, kind of do things that will make these implementations go much faster. That's one way. And as you know, faster implementation means faster revenue, right? So, we haven't really started measuring revenue only because we are very focused on making sure that the first things comes first, which is implementations and conversions, and making sure that we can add value there in terms of making it go faster for some of our key products.
Interesting, because making implementation faster require automation capability, your understanding of products, multiple products, not just your product. You need to understand customer environment. So your teams have to have customer contacts. By just measuring this one metric, you're building several capability at the center to be able to provide for this metric. Great.
And if I may add, Pari, the one other thing that will come along with it is integrations, right? So, implementations can happen in silos, and most, if not all of our clients have more than one of our products in their ecosystem, and to be able to efficiently integrate and make sure that you provide value for them through those integrations is sort of the next evolution of that, and we're just getting started with that.
Thanks, Srini. Thanks for your insightful commentary on what's happening in leadership, future of work, digital transformation, how centers metrics are changing, how companies are going to measure their GCCs. Thanks a lot. I enjoyed this conversation.
As I always say, I enjoy every time I have a conversation with you, Pari. So thank you for making the time to do this as well.
Thanks, Srini. Over to you, Mithun.
Well, learning has got nowhere a thought to stop. It just keeps going. And with what Srini spoke right now in conversation with Pari, I'm telling you that indeed is where India and the world are meeting towards a transformative journey. Well, let's get ready for the next very interesting fireside chat. And I'll tell you what, you are here for the most amazing session of the day. So be with us. We will be right back.